Samachtes, about the third down, a little bit more or less, on the top of the page, the line begins ahtzmi. So the Ayin habchira, which is what we say occurs time of Tkiyas Shekel. Bechira is something which comes from Atmos itself, and it is remote even from the Tainug Atzmi. Yet, in Habchira, is due to the fact that Yidden are in Tainug Atzmi. And the principle that Yidden can affect the Bechira is through Kabbalah Seil Malchus Shomayim of Tkiyas Shekel. Kabbalah Seil Malchus Shomayim, we discussed this Inyan yesterday briefly. Actually, throughout our learning we have this recurring theme of Nase v'Nishma. And we explained many times that Nase v'Nishma, this Nase, which appears to be totally without any sense, but actually it is the deepest sense of reality that one can express. Because this Nase simply states that I'm not in the world. In the world, I have to explain what I'm doing and how come I'm doing it. If I were a presence in the world, not even a presence in the world. I do that which comes from a source which is completely remote and higher than the world. Which means Nas. And Yidden have that insight and that dedication quality. They're interested not just in experiencing the truth, because it's a good thing to be in truth, but rather the truth per se, way beyond that which one can identify with and one can experience. In other words, a Yid in self-identity does not identify his self. In self-identity, he identifies the godly truth. This is where the self-identity starts. Normally one thinks logically that the way it works is one senses himself. So no, I'm for real, I'm a real human being, and therefore I should look for that which is worthy of a human being. This is not this is not where a Yiddish thought process begins. Yiddish thought process begins. No. The truth is there. God is there. Like the Rambam says. The first thing is to know there is a first being, not that I'm here. If it begins from knowing myself, then it's a completely different mindset, completely different process. How can one know anything without first knowing himself? Who is the one who is knowing it? How can one know anything without knowing himself first? The answer is that this knowledge is a neshama type of knowledge. It's not a worldly knowledge. It's not a knowledge that can be worldly identifiable. This is what Ayin is. He is present in the world. What's the world? The world is the godly presence. If I may, I want to elaborate a little bit on this, because it is a difficult thing, and perhaps it's a little distant from our mind. But if you really think about it, you see it's not that distant. It doesn't, from the world, it doesn't make sense, but that's the reality of Ayin. Like if you look at a house, at a building, from a logical, worldly perspective, this house is a structure of walls and floors and room divisions, all kinds of parts put together, all involving some kind of a hard physical material. And then there is enormous planning and engineering and design factors that went into bringing this together. This is what you notice, you think, from a physical perspective. Is that what a human being sees? No. Human being sees the spirit that inspired the thought of this house to begin with. What is the house about? Like we say, the home. He, by the way, sees the human element. He sees the godly element. Where does the human element come from? The spiritual thing from God. This is what we actually encounter at first. And then we kind of shove it aside. Can't live at that level. By Har Sinai, Eden said, yes, we can live at that level. This is what Torah is. This is how the Torah was given to us. The Torah gives us a way of life that takes us outside of the world. And gives us a view of the world, a top-down view. Not as participants, so to speak, from a worldly perspective, from a participants on the godly perspective. This is the Kabbalah Seil Malchus Shamayim of Tkiyah Sheikh. Now let's continue further. Ube'emes, as I said, the line begins ahtzmi, at the end of that line. Ube'emes, in truth, hakoyach the Kabbalah Seil Malchus Shamayim she'ez b'neshamas Yisrael. This ability to express and to live up to the Kabbalah's Oyel Malchus Shamayim, that is Yez b'neshamas Yisrael, that is present in Neshamas. Which means Somebody said the Paltiel Shamayim yesterday they said mitzvahs. It's not mitzvahs. It's way superior to mitzvahs. It is directly relating to Shamayim, not to anything to do with the world. How am I going to live? How am I going to practice? This is also it is due to the fact that they are rooted in Atzmus. Atzmus is Yisboyer, as we shall explain. This is the essence of the neshama. And if one, so to speak, is able to, even for a moment, to free himself from the shackles of the world and actually relate and see things from the truth of his neshama perspective, this is where the Kabbalah Semach Shemaim comes from. Because he is rooted in Atzmus Yisrael. The Nimtza. Therefore it comes out. That the principle of Bechira Lamayla, because we just finished saying that the Bechira is the Yisrael, because Yisrael Amushish, because the Mamshich the Sinyan is the Kabbalah to Kabbalah Semach Shamayim. Therefore it comes out that the Bechira Lamayla Zehu Masha Yiraiso veYisrael Miskashroin Besosim Tekuchim Rihu. The Bechira Lamayla is the result of this principle that Yiraisa and Yisroel Miskashroin Besosim Tekuchim Rihu. They bind and they bond with Sosim Tekuchim Rihu. Sosim Tekuchim Rihu again means they conceal this, the essential inner from Kuchubliyo, not the revealed inner from Kuchubliyo.
So what unites? I
Eraisa Torah and Israel. Israel, the Kabbalah Semach Shemaim, this is the bind between Israel and Tzosum Kuchubliyo. And as we said, Tkiyah Shefer is a hidden coil, a hidden expression. It comes from the essence. Because Israel and Isa and Miskashroim Besosim Kuchubliyo bind with Kuchubliyo, Besosim Kuchubliyo, this is why there is a Bechira Lamayla. The Bechira is something which comes from above the process of Bechira. The Bechira comes from that which is uninvolved, above. It doesn't have to be Boiche. He is Boiche because from a Sosim perspective. But Yisrael and Isa are miskashroim with the sos. In other words, as we said yesterday, the only way to express it is Yisrael and miskashroim, not with something that they perceived at an existent level, but the truth which you cannot perceive. They don't look to perceive; they look into. They're bind in Sosim Kuchubliyo, but they conceal, they're hidden in Kuchubliyo. The truth, the pure truth, which does not manifest. Zehu gam kein tam habchira b'neshomas Yisrael lamato. This also explains the reason, the fact that there is Bechira in Neshomas Yisrael, here Lamato. This which we talked about, Bechira in Neshomas Yisrael, because the miskashim besosim kutsumi, this is the original bechira. But then when need nahir lamato, that's a completely different environment. And this thing that a miskashim kutsumi can hardly tell. Nevertheless, this is the reason for the bechira mishum yisrael lamato gam bisman hagolus. Even in time of golus. Time of golus means that you can't even tell what's doing inside of Ayin. The pneumius of Ayin. You seem to be worldly oriented and beyond worldly oriented. Or Kamesha Kosu, as the Posik says, V'yav gam zois. And even that, B'heyoisam, when they will be, as you said, be in Be'eretz Yivayim, in the land of their enemies. What does it say there? Even when they'll be in the land of their enemies, I will not forsake them, and I will not despise them. Say, oh, they are so impure, they're so far away from Kedusha, from where they started. And I will not turn away from them. Mius means something that one cannot tolerate because of its impurity. In their impure state, I will not dissociate myself from them. And as the Pasuk says, Lokachas loy goy b'kuli. That Moshe Rabbeinu says to you, Lokachas loy goy, he came to take out a nation, mikerev goy, from inside another nation. This expression, Lokachas loy goy, mikerev goy, being inside the other nation is not merely being mixed amongst them. Kerev means internals of the goy. In other words, they were completely swallowed up and appropriated, so to speak, with the nation, with the host nation. And they acquired the impurities of the host nation. Kerev means like being in the intestines. And yet, even though they're in the Kerev goy, so they do not represent that original purity of their being tied up with Sosim Kochubiu. Nevertheless, that still remains. Why? The Mipnei Shekvar Nivcharu. Bifchinas Ha'atzmus. Because that they were already chosen in the Atzmus level. Liyois Miskashroyim. What were the choice is that they were chosen that they should be bound with atzmus. So even though you can't tell they're bound, but he chooses that to bring them back and to make them bound again. This is what we said all these. You're chosen to be bound. The union that they are bound with Kuchubriyu is by choice, that the Rebbe chooses that they should be bound by Kuchubriyu. Thus, as a result of that, they are chosen also here below. And therefore this is true what it says, Moin Ato Yisolon. Moin Ato Yisolon, we already had this portion before. You were a dwelling for us. Now when this is where we are in your reality. And therefore because Moin Ato Yisolon, because you were a dwelling for us originally, Al-Kain Gam Lamato, therefore, even here below, Gam Bisman HaGolus, even in time of the Golus, Moin Ato Isolonu. you are a moin for us, even if it's Mahagolos. Because that was already sealed in the original state. Beginnes moin machse. Moin means a dwelling, machse means a covering. K'meishi pirish Rashi, and as Rashi renders this word, moder, a dwelling, monis. Monis means an escape. Yisolano, you were for us, the day for day, from generation to generation, meyayilam, from ever. Yato mikedem hakoil hoyise. This is Rashi. Kiato, because you mikedem hakoil hoyise. You were before everything. Ad kan l'shoina. These are the words of Rashi. Because Ato, you were before everything, and we started with you all the way from there, from before everything, and therefore wherever it goes down, you remain our essential dwelling. This is where we are. We are, as I said before, we are not in the world. We may be functioning in the world, but that's not where we are. L'hainu, which means to say, the Ein Sof, that the real Ein Sof, Kadmoin l'chol hagdumim, that which precedes all precedents. Haboicher b'yatzmai b'neshamas Yisrael, who chooses the ahtzmi within himself, on his own, b'neshamas Yisrael, hu lohem b'bchinas moin u'machseh. He is for them, providing, he relates to them, and he finds himself in the relationship with them as a moin or machse, as a dwelling or machse, and as a covering. This thus is the choice, the selection. Here below in Neshamas Yisrael, Gam Bisman HaGolus, even in the time of the Golus, Shenim Shem Bibchinas Atzmus Ein Sof. I would think it should be Mibchinas Atzmus. Shenim Shem Bibchinas Atzmus Ein Sof. And Bibchinas Atzmus Ein Sof is Nimshach Haboichet B'Yisrael, that which made the choice in Yisrael, the B'chinas Pnimis Atzmusei Yisborah, the B'china which took place in the Pnimis Atzmusei, and from there is Nimshach, this Atzmus, through the B'china. And to further put a finger on it, so to speak. Kihine, Iker bechinas habchira v'havdola, ben pnimius lechitzonius. Who? The principle of the choice and identifying Avdola, separation, ben pnimius lechitzonius, between the pnimius and chitzonius. Chitzonius is that which is a presence in the world, and pnimius is representing where it comes from, where it was originally conceived. Who? That distinction is ben pnimius horotzon v'hataylut. Distinction applies to distinguish between these two levels. Pnimi is horotzim ha'tainuk, shekol ahtzmi mekusha v'ne'elam. The pnimi is of the rotzim and tainuk shekol ahtzmi mekusha v'ne'elam, where his ne'elam bay, that his whole being, his whole essence, is bound and is contained and concealed in this pnimi is horotzim ha'tainuk. Uvein ha'chitzoini is horotzim ha'tainuk. To separate them from the chitzonius of the rotzim ha'tainuk. This is even from Bechira Shemavdil ben ha'pnimis v'chitzonius. This is the Bechira Shemavdil ben ha'pnimis that separates between the pnimis and chitzonius. Just want to make a certain point. Wenn wir so rotzim ha'tainuk shekol atzmi mekusha v'ne'elam, und wir können sehen, rotzim ha'tainuk she'nei bo rak b'derech aga bilvad. The bechira is between the pnimis horotzim ha'tainuk, where the whole etzem is bound with this, to separate them from the chitzonius, which is also a rotzim ha'tainuk. But this is only bo b'derech aga bilvad, that only comes derech aga. Derech aga means as an addendum, as an additional. What's mean derech aga? Derech aga means it is there, but it's there for some, or because of a certain circumstance. Derech aga. Not for its own sake, but in order to support the central theme. That's what derech aga. So, there's much to speak about this clearly. I don't want to be late. Just want to make the point which I feel always when it comes to these things you may be missing out. Although we spoke about it many times. We, in our circumstance, hardly ever sense what's called the pnimius and rotzim, pnimius and rotzim ha'tainuk. Anything we want, there is a reason for it. There's some kind of a circumstantial reason for it. And most of the time, actually, it is the negative. If not, what are the consequences? We don't even focus on the aspect of the choice itself. But this is because we're in a continuously world. In reality, we too have a neshama that has a pnimis and rotzim ha'tainuk, that really wants something because it really wants it, because it identifies with it. This is the reality. This is the choice in the Elokus. This is Kabbalah Shemayim and so forth. And the Milo, clearly, this is a pure choice. The reason there was a choice is because it is with pnimis, he has a direct connection with this. This is what he is choosing. It's not circumstantial. It's not this is what to distinguish. Bechira is to distinguish between the pnimis or rotzim ha'tainuk and the chitzonis, which is only b'derech aga. There are many examples in our talk. For example, the Ikir is a neshama. But the neshama has the shlichus to function in the world and to affect the world. This is why it is in a guf. But what is a human being in principle? Is it the neshama or the guf? The answer is he's a neshama in a guf. And here is where there needs to be, so to speak, a havdalah b'chira. He's a neshama guf, they are not separate. But within that union, there's the pnimis and there's the derech hagav, the chitzonius. Now we will interrupt till tomorrow morning. Have a great day.
Yeah.